Okay. Do you want to play rough? Okay. Uno. Say hello to my little friend.
Scarface. Scarface is one of the most famous and popular American films in history. Its story of worldly desire and a naive immigrant's misunderstanding of the American dream is Shakespearean in its tragedy. Tony Montana is an ambitious Cuban refugee who climbs his way through the mafia ranks. He starts at the lowest of lows with one goal in mind: making the world his. What follows is an unforgettable epic of American cinema. In this video, I will analyze the themes and protagonist of Brian De Palma's 1983 masterpiece, Scarface. Before I begin, I must note that the 1983 De Palma film is a remake of a 1932 Howard Hawks film of the same name. I won't really mention the original, as the De Palma film is a far fuller film with much deeper exploration of its themes. While many story elements originate from the 1932 film, hardly any of the depth does. I enjoy the original, but the 83 film is, in my opinion, in a league of its own. And also, there will be spoilers. If you haven't seen Scarface yet, what are you doing, man? Go watch it. Alright, on to the analysis. The single most important element in understanding the themes of this film is our protagonist, Tony Montana's motivation. Tony grew up in Cuba. He's lived his entire life under communist control. We see from the very first scene that his resentment of communism and his lack of personal autonomy in his home country is his motivation throughout the story. America is supposed to be the land of freedom, where anybody can go into business for themselves, prosper, and make money. Tony knows this. He wants this. However, patience and effort are not virtues that Tony Montana is well acquainted with. So, as you can imagine, he doesn't go for the American dream in the way that it's intended. Instead, Tony begins working with a Miami drug lord. He's well off. He makes $1,000 faster than you can say hello to his little friend. This, however, is not enough for him. He wants more. After all, it's America, right? If you want it, you can have it, right? Tony begins making deals with customers against his boss, Frank's wishes. All while this is going on, Tony begins showing a romantic interest in Frank's wife, Elvira. Again, Tony wants more. After being nearly assassinated by Frank, for reasons stated previously, Tony kills him and takes his position as the leader of the Miami drug world. Yet again, this isn't enough. He wants more. Tony expands his drug empire far beyond what Frank had done. He builds himself a giant mansion and marries Frank's wife. He buys $1,000 suits as well as a Bengal tiger, amongst other things. Yet still, this isn't enough to quench Tony's seemingly infinite greed and desire for things. He has more money than he knows what to do with, as well as the woman he wants. He has it all, but it isn't enough. By this point, I'm sure you're starting to understand Tony's fault as a character. Tony's life under communist rule is the reason for this unquenchable greed. While in Cuba, he never had anything. He wasn't allowed to have anything. And now that he's in America, he thinks he can have everything. Therein lies Tony's fatal flaw. He is chained down by his bottomless desire. He wants everything. And because he wants everything and won't be satisfied until he has everything, he won't ever feel like he has anything. This is without a doubt, in my opinion, Al Pacino's finest performance. His role as Michael Corleone in the Godfather films is regarded by many to be his finest work, but as Tony Montana, Pacino has a screen presence that has been rarely matched. When he's on screen, you literally can't take your eyes off of him. He's such an interesting and larger-than-life character that you can't help but be totally enthralled with everything he says and does. Tony Montana is a criminal, yes. He's a scumbag, yes. He kills people and sells drugs, oh yeah. He's a bad person, yet somehow Al Pacino is able to instill this charismatic likability within him. In the hands of any other actor, it simply wouldn't work. I mentioned earlier how the story is very Shakespearean. Thematically, it's very similar to the Shakespeare play Macbeth. Macbeth tells the tale of an 11th century Scottish soldier whose lust for power and kingship results in not only the death of himself, but all those close to him as well. Scarface modernizes this idea and adapts it to the criminal underworld of 1980s Miami. Macbeth kills his best friend Banquo. Tony kills his best friend Manny. In both stories, this death haunts the protagonist. It's incredibly tragic. But don't worry, there's more tragedy than just that. In Scarface, Tony's sister is killed as a result of the choices he makes. His mother disowns him and Elvira leaves him. Everyone who ever cared about him has abandoned him or been destroyed by his actions. In the end, because of his selfishness and greed, Tony is left with nothing. Nothing but a worthless pile of cocaine. Because of his infinite, unquenchable wanting of anything and everything, he is never satisfied. Because he wants everything, he will never have anything. That's the tragedy of Tony Montana. He's a character with great ambition, but that ambition is so great that he never truly gets anything he wants. All of this and more is visualized in the haunting final moments of the film. After taking a barrage of bullets with ease, visually symbolizing his tenacity in life, Tony gets shot in the back and falls dead into a pool installed in his mansion. In the pool is a statue with a sign that reads, "The world is yours." This is a callback to an earlier scene in which Tony saw the same message on a blimp. This is Tony's ideology. It is the attitude he had when he came to America, it's the attitude he had during his rise to power, and it's the attitude that eventually got him killed. When you think the world is yours, nothing will ever seem good enough.
Y al heroísmo de una revolución, no los queremos, no los necesitamos.